Welcome to Monday, March 24th, my fiends. Did you have a good weekend? I sincerely hope you're hungover and walking funny today. No, I'm serious. Like Ape Hangers on a Harley about that. From Hollywood, it's the world-famous Mojo Elliott with another action-packed adventure of the Rat's Ass Podcast. Thanks for being here, you sexy mofos. Have you joined Rat Nation yet? It's our Rat's Ass Podcast listener club. Now, granted, it's not for everybody, but it might be right for you. Just go check it out at ratsasspodcast.com when you got time. Now, remember last week when Minnesota Governor and failed ex-vice presidential candidate Tim No Balls Walls, also known as Tampon Tim, was celebrating Tesla stock diving to $225 a share? We talked about it on Friday. As I started the podcast today, I checked out the stock, and Tesla stock is up $19 a share at $267. That's a jump of $42 a share in less than a week. So suck on that, Tim Walls. Now he says, I was only joking about it. Well, you know what? Cheering for the demise of an American company by an elected official isn't cool. It's no joking matter in my opinion. But God, I swear, if Elmer Fudd had a son, it would be Tim Walz. Here's an interesting stat to start your week. Would you believe only 1% of the United States are millionaires? But 50% of the U.S. Congress are millionaires. That's about 267, 268 of them. So let that sink in the next time you hear a Democrat screaming to tax the rich and acting like they're not. They're deflecting. They point the finger somewhere else so you don't see what they're really up to. Does that sound about right, Bernie Sanders? When I hear the word curmudgeon, I immediately think of Bernie Sanders. I mean, he's a doofus, number one, but he's an 83-year-old self-admitted communist currently touring the country bitching about the rich. The oligarchy. Trump is trying to establish an oligarchy. He's been beating that word to death since his intern introduced it to him when Trump was elected back in November. But what Bernie really wants to do is create a communist oligarchy in America. That's what would make him happy. But here's the thing. Sanders is part of the 1%. If you didn't know that, you're a dumbass. Now, he's made a career out of complaining about people just like him. He basically complains about himself and raises money. He's been spewing the same bullshit for the past 35 years. He used to bitch about the millionaires. Then he became one. Then he now pisses and moans about the billionaires creating an oligarchy. I guess there's always somebody hearing it for the first time, and that's why he gets away with it. All right, there's one thing we all do have in common, and it's that we all like to stuff our face. The New York Post just dropped its list of the top 5 fast foods to stay the hell away from. You want to write these down? Or can you remember them off the top? All right, here we go. Number 5, Burger King's Bacon King. Stay away. Number 4, Wendy's Big Bacon Classic Triple. Number 3, Popeye's Signature Bone-In Wings, or the Louisiana Garlic Bone-In Wings. Number 2, and we've all had this puppy, the McDonald's Big Breakfast with Hotcakes. A lot of sodium. Number 1, Dairy Queen Honey Barbecue Chicken Strip Basket with over 3,500 milligrams of sodium. You could probably take a salt lick to work for lunch and get less sodium than that. They also listed a few that just missed the list. Panda Express's fried rice, KFC's Nashville Hot Loaded Fries Bowl, the Cobb salad from Chick-fil-A, just because it says salad doesn't mean it's healthy, and the Beast Sub from Subway. But I'll tell you what, you can never go wrong with Jersey Mike's sub in a bowl. Just get it Mike's way. Trust me on that one. All right, George Foreman died on Friday, 76 years old. He was a gold medal Olympic champion, 2-time heavyweight champion, the oldest to ever win the title at the age of 45. But most of you still know him for being the spokesman for the George Foreman Grill. Now, that was actually invented by Michael Brougham, but it was George who sold that puppy, or it would have been called the Brougham Grill, right? Now, I interviewed George back in 1994 when he first started marketing the Lean Mean Fat Grilling Machine. Remember that? It was a phone interview, so I didn't get to meet George in person, but we had a nice conversation. The interview was scheduled for 7 minutes, and we went almost 15 because we got to talking about boxing, and I was a big boxing fan at that time, and I think George got the sense that I was, and he enjoyed the conversation, I believe. But I kept jabbing him because he named every one of his sons George. So every chance I got in the interview, I'd give him a little jab about one of his sons being named George. And the more I did it, the more he laughed about it. He was such a good sport. Probably would have kicked my ass in the studio, though. But 3 days after the interview, a George Foreman lean, mean, fat grilling machine showed up on my desk, autographed. And I used that puppy for about 22 years. You know, George was also a man of faith in God, and may he rest in eternal peace. I'd like to be a fly on the wall at the table with him and Smoking Joe Frazier, Muhammad Ali, and George, because they all fought each other. And they're all friends now in heaven. Well, I'm guessing your March Madness bracket has busted by now. In fact, there are only 3 perfect ones left as we do this podcast and heading into the Sweet 16. But it sure was fun playing, wasn't it? You know, I was out first night. I was out there ripping up my ballot. Like, damn you, McNeese. Upset Clemson. Yeah. It's been a long time since I've been kicked out in the first round. But it was sure as fun playing, though. That's what the big deal is. Office pools, all that good stuff. Right now, I'm zoned in on opening day for baseball season this Thursday when my Reds host San Francisco, and watching the Lakers limp into the playoffs. Then comes the NFL draft next month. We've got the NHL playoffs coming. Oh, yeah, I'll miss the playoffs this year. My Pens won't be there. Get ready, Pittsburgh. Changes are coming to the Pens. 3 years in a row, no playoff appearances. God, that hurts more than losing the bracket. All right, it's time to play some head trauma. Get your Monday rolling. We're going to play some no-brainer trivia today. Let's see if you can figure this one out. If you saw your mirror image holding the letter D in your left hand, what would you in actuality be doing? If you saw your mirror image holding the letter D in your left hand, what would you actually be doing? I'll have the answer for you later on in the podcast. You can marinate on that until I get there. All right, who's ready for some loose behavior? Here's what's happening on the Rat's Ass Podcast X feed. Master of Mayhem posted this, and it was kind of a light week for questions, by the way, on X. So we went with this one. If you could have sex with a celebrity, who would it be? All right, so instead of focusing on individual comments on this one, I tallied up the results. And I think it'll surprise you. The top male, money talks, baby, Elon Musk. And the top female was Hilaria Baldwin. That's right, Alex's soon-to-be ex-wife. Who in the hell would have seen those results coming from that question? Would you believe I don't think about having sex with a celebrity? Never crosses my mind. You never know where they've been. It's important to know where they've been. All right, let's get into today's celebrity cheese. Pete Davidson has a new girlfriend. Her name is Elsie Hewitt. And they've been seen in the last couple of weeks gallivanting all over Florida and New York City. Have you seen Elsie yet? She kind of looks like Pete Davidson. Boxer and YouTubist Jake Paul is engaged to get married now to Judah Lierdman. Have you seen Judah? Yeah, you thought I was going to say she looks like Jake, didn't you? Nope. No, not at all. She kind of looks like Pete Davidson. Amazon billionaire Jeff Bezos and his bride-to-be Lauren Chick at my tit Sanchez are said to be sending out wedding invitations. They plan to tie the knot in Italy this summer. Have you seen Lauren? Of course you haven't. You've only seen her tits. But if you did, you'd say she looks like Pete Davidson. Pop singer Lizzo has dropped a lot of weight and is showing off her new figure online wearing fishnet stockings. Lizzo and fishnets. Have you seen her pics? No. She doesn't look like Pete Davidson. If she lost another 100 pounds, then she'd look like Pete Davidson. But who gives a rat's ass? All right, the wait is over. Here comes the Rat's Ass Podcast email from our Gmail. This is where you email your questions, comments, and observations to me at ratsasspodcast@gmail.com. And I respond here on the show. No topic is off the table, and the more outrageous and salacious, the better. Now, I do not read your email in advance. My producer, Fleabag, forwards me your name, where you're from, and rewrites them so I can respond rapid fire and on the fly. Pardon me, but I got to get a drink of whiskey to make me frisky here before I get into these. Yeah, I don't think it's a good idea to be shooting fireball first thing Monday morning. All right, here we go. Victor K. from Dallas, Texas said, I caught a couple of my employees having sex after hours in my office. They're both married to other people who I happen to be friends with. What would you do given the same situation? I would stick to business. Stick to the aspect of business and stay the hell out of the rest, man. Let them work it out. All right, Sarah H., San Diego, California, said, I met a guy 2 weeks ago I really like, but he's so damn needy. How can I dust him so he doesn't bug me again? Because he would. I don't know how far your relationship has gone, Sarah, but if you laugh at his wiener schnitzel, that'll do it. And if you've had sex, tell him you wish he was hung like your ex-boyfriend. Nothing will send a man running faster than that. All right, Lucas B. from Springfield, Massachusetts. I wanted to be sure you knew knew how to pronounce it instead of just giving up and saying Springfield, Mass. Springfield, Massachusetts. I walked in on my wife masturbating with a vibrator the other day, and she was so into it, I didn't bother her, but she didn't see me either, so I just walked out. Should I talk to her about it or let it ride? God, I'd say let it ride this time, but if it happens again, just pop in and say, hey, honey, can I change those batteries for you? Make it a little bit stronger? I think humor in those situations is a pretty good icebreaker to break up a conversation about it. Why is she vibrating with a vibrator and not you? That's what you want to really get at, isn't it? Marco L., Youngstown, Ohio, said, I married my... no, he didn't. I almost read that he married his sister. Oh, man, that shot hit me quick. All right, my married sister asked me if she can use my apartment to have sex on the side with other men. Should I give her a key or not? Oh, God, I'm going to need another shot after that one. My God. No, I won't do it. But your sister wants to have sex with men on the side, wants to use your apartment? My first instinct is to say, hell no. But then again, could make for an interesting side hustle. Do you have Venmo? Karen W., Phoenix, Arizona, said, I ran into an old boss from about 15 years ago at a grocery store. We used to flirt a lot when we worked with each other, but nothing came from it since we were both married at the time. Now, I find out that we're both single, and he asked me out to lunch. I'm really torn because he's bald now. He's bald! And I generally don't like bald men. Should I go or not? Karen, it's just lunch. It's not a proposal. All right, Peter G. from Nelson, New Zealand says, you seem to have a pretty good handle on American women. Really? Okay. I met a lady from Texas over the weekend, and we're going to have dinner before she heads back to the USA. What can I expect? Well, if she's from Texas, order a big steak. Big, thick, juicy steak. Maybe a T-bone, maybe a ribeye. Yeah, go for the ribeye. And let her talk till she's Tanya Tuckered out. Just let her fly. Let her go. Just Then she'll sleep with you because you're a great listener. American men don't listen. That's a big problem. If you just listen, they tend to open up like a flower to you. All right, if you have any observations, comments, or questions, send them to ratsasspodcast@gmail.com. All right, here's your head trauma answer. Today's round is no-brainer trivia. Did you figure it out? If you saw your mirror image holding the letter D in your left hand, what would you in actuality be doing? If you figured out you'd be holding the letter B in your right hand, congratulations. If you missed it, you know what to do. You got to go see a doctor about your head trauma and get well soon. All right, I do have one more thing for you before I split ski today. Did you know a person with damage to the right side of their brain hemisphere can develop a joke addiction, meaning they feel compulsive about constantly making and telling jokes? Yeah, finally I know what has been wrong with me all these years after reading that. But you know what? At least I don't look like Pete Davidson. All right, let's do a few shout-outs to where people listen to the Rat's Ass Podcast, believe it or not, in the USA, Los Angeles, California, Lexington, Kentucky, New York, and Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. Around the world in Sydney, Australia, Frankfurt, Germany, Vancouver, Canada, and London, England. Thanks for lending us your ears, everybody. We appreciate it. All right, that's it for this episode of the Rat's Ass Podcast. Be sure to check out the new ratsasspodcast.com to connect with us on the socials. Remember, we told you each social media platform has to stand on its own now. You can listen to the podcast, join Rat Nation, and read the blog where you can find out the difference between being circumcised versus being uncircumcised. And some of you won't be happy. We'll do this again on Wednesday, March 26th. Take care of each other, and thanks again for dropping by the Rat's Ass Podcast.